Last week, we showed how Jesus refers to the Psalms in his great Sermon on the Mount. Now this week, we will see how the Psalms refer to Jesus.
Aren't the Psalms a lot of poems and songs written by David and Solomon?
Yeah, they do include poetry and songs, but Jewish people also viewed many of the Psalms as prophetic literature. And now in the New Testament, we see how many of the prophecies of the Psalms actually refer to Jesus. So let's dive into Psalm 2. Psalm 2 is the first of the royal psalms. These are the psalms that either refer to God reigning as king or to the current earthly kings. And Psalm 2 specifically prophesies Jesus, the Son of God, as king. So for example, Psalm 2 verse 6 declares that God has installed his king on Zion. Now we also know this is Jesus because of the New Testament. 1 Peter 2:6 states that God has placed or installed Jesus as the chosen cornerstone of Zion. Another example is in verse 7. Verse 7 of Psalm 2 says, "I will declare the Lord's decree. He said to me, 'You are my son. Today I have become your father.'" This, of course, should bring to mind Jesus' baptism. When Jesus is baptized, God says, "This is my son, whom I love, in him I'm well pleased."
So the part where the psalm says, "He said to me," if David wrote the psalm, is God talking to David or to Jesus?
Yeah, in a way, it's both. The kings of Israel at the time were considered sons of God, and they were supposed to rule and represent God. But unfortunately, all fail, including David, right? We know all about his affair with Bathsheba, failures as a father. So all the kings fail until Christ comes, who lives perfectly. Jesus is the long-awaited for righteous king. Even at his baptism, he says he gets baptized to fulfill all righteousness. Another reason we know this psalm is about Jesus is that Hebrews 11 quotes it and says it is specifically about Jesus. In fact, it says that God does not even give this same title of sonship to his angels.
So God is speaking through David to foreshadow the coming of Christ and solidify him as the one true king.
Right, and we see Christ exercise his kingship in his statement in the Great Commission, which is really similar to verse 8 of this psalm. Verse 8 says, "I will make the nations your inheritance and the ends of the earth your possession."
Wait, Jesus says in the Great Commission, "All authority on heaven and earth has been given to me. Therefore, go make disciples of all nations." So Jesus is given all the earth as king, and then he gives the disciples the mission to bring everyone into his kingdom.
Right, and then the end of this psalm kind of tells us what happens to those who take refuge in Jesus' kingdom and for those who don't. So verse 12 says, "Kiss the Son, or he will become angry."
Why do we need to kiss Jesus?
It's more of a phrase that means to pay honor or respect. Kind of like if there was a king and people would kiss the ring of the king. It's a way of showing honor and respect and allegiance to the king. So the psalm is saying that if you aren't in allegiance with the king, then your way will lead to destruction as well as the wrath of God. But if you find refuge in the king and his kingdom, then you are blessed.
So this psalm is a picture of the gospel. For those that trust in Jesus as king, they are saved from God's wrath and now find favor with God.
That's exactly right. The Bible be Bibling.